Hello there, so today I'm colouring in this image here. So if you saw my previous video, you would have seen that I actually created this picture in that video. That was for a Scrawlr Box unboxing, so I coloured it in there as well, but I was obviously limited with my colour choices because I only used the materials in the box. And I just had this major urge to actually recolour it and just be able to use whatever colours I wanted to, and then I also really wanted to use my Copic markers. So that's what I'm doing in this video. And I thought I would just share it with you because why not? And it's going to be full of loads of different colours and obviously summer inspiration. And it just kind of really made me happy because colour makes me happy. So I thought maybe it would do the same for someone else. Now I'm starting in the bottom left here, as you can see, with the flower. And I kind of decided that I wanted to make it a little bit sunflower inspired in the colours. So that's why I picked out some different yellows and oranges and basically swatched a few to see which ones I wanted. Also because I knew I wanted to do some blending regarding shadows and that. So I didn't just want to do complete flat colour on these, even though they're very cartoony little figures. I also kind of wanted to incorporate a bit of shadow blending, and also I'm going to be doing some texture later on, playing around with trying to add different textures to some pieces. But yeah, as you can see, I'm adding a bit of shadow now, kind of deepening the petals that are behind the other ones, just to give it that little bit more realistic feel to it. Obviously not the piece itself, but just more colouring the shadows where they would be in that, and also adding a little bit of texture to the front one so they're not just completely plain flat colour. And I really like how these different petals are looking at each other, interacting with each other. The front one kind of just winking at the audience, I guess. And then the one to the right is just kind of a little bit oblivious, just hello there, what's going on? And then the one to the left is a bit miffed by the looks of it at the front one, because that's not in the front of attention. So that was kind of the feeling I got when I was doing the eyes. So I did try and add eyes and expressions to most of these little cartoony pieces throughout. And that was part of what I wanted to do. I thought that'd be really cute, but also for me, a good learning experience to kind of practice doing different expressions with eyes, really only eyes and eyebrows here. And I really liked how it turned out on pretty much all of them, so I'm very pleased with that. Now you can see I'm moving on to the watermelon, which was actually one of the first ones that I came up with when I was trying to brainstorm different objects that mean summer to me. And here also, this is one of the ones that I tried to add a lot of texture to, so I'm doing it on the green parts, on the stripes here, as you can see to the left, and then I'm also going to be doing it to the red parts, or the inside basically. You see that in a bit. So again, I did some swatching first with some different greens to pick out the colours that I wanted to use, and I wanted to kind of really separate the different greens for the different sections, kind of alternate between them. So this is what I ended up with. And also the eyes for this one I really like, because it's kind of like an oh no expression, which is kind of obvious when you think who would want to get cut into, because that's what's happened. Someone's cut a slice out of the watermelon clearly. And also the little C's kind of add to that expression, I think, even though that wasn't my first intention, but almost as a little bit, almost like sweat drops or oh no, I don't like this kind of expression. So I'm really quite pleased with that. I think it's quite cute. So I feel like I should also just mention that you might have noticed my thumb. Yeah, let's just say it was self-inflicted. I hurt my thumb quite badly. I stabbed myself with a scissor, basically, quite hard. It went in pretty deep and there was a lot of blood. Let's just leave it at that. But that's the reason for the massive plaster on my thumb, so just try and ignore that. Anyway, moving on to the palm tree here. So I wanted to also play with the shadows on this one. So especially on the, I guess it's still called back, I'm not sure, but the stem of the tree, or the trunk, whatever you want to call it. So the parts where they kind of overlap, I really wanted to play with the shadow on that one too. And apparently jumping straight on to the sunglasses. This is the first time I've drawn something like this, or coloured in as well, where I wanted to do the kind of like a reflection in the sunglasses, in the glass, to really make it appear like actual sunglasses would, or glasses in general. And I'm quite pleased with how it came out. I think it does give the effect I was looking for. So yeah, I think that worked out alright, and I definitely like the idea of that, and I want to be doing that in the future when I do sunglasses or glasses of some sort. I have seen other people do this kind of style, which is why I gave me the idea to try that, and I think it worked out quite well. And as you can probably tell, you're starting to get an idea of more colours together here. I'm using a lot of different colours and pretty bright, and that's exactly what I wanted to do, because like I said, colour makes me happy, and I love colour and loads of different colours. I love rainbows and everything connected to that. And I just really wanted to give that impression in this piece. Now obviously some of them are a little bit more subtle, because like this one here is supposed to be a sand castle, so obviously it made sense to kind of do that more of a sand colour. And I think that did work out as well. I actually really like the colours I picked out for the sand and also for the shadow colour. Definitely need to remember them because I think that worked really well. But they're more subtle, but at the same time obviously it makes sense, and there's so many other bright colours that it's still just overall a very bright and colourful piece. So I'm really pleased with that, and it definitely ended up how I imagined, just full of colour and summer and warmth and all those things. And again, I love the expression on these, where one is just kind of doing its own thing and the other two are looking at it like, what the heck are you doing? But anywho, moving on to the bananas. Now those ones, obviously bananas are yellow, but I wanted to add green as well, because when I think bananas, I think of them yellow but with green when they're kind of officially not quite ripe yet. But that is actually how I prefer bananas. I prefer them when they've still got green to them. I don't really like bananas otherwise. That's how I like to eat them, so I thought that's how I wanted to colour them as well. And actually, just to mention, it goes the same for the pineapple that I'll be colouring in a bit. Same thing, I also prefer that when... I love pineapple, by the way. It's one of probably my favourite fruit, along with strawberries. But I prefer it as well when it's more on the green side, before it starts to get too ripe, because it gets too sweet for me. I like when they have that tanginess to them. Anywho, moving on to the bee. Now this is, I like all of the characters and little designs I came up with, but the bee I was really pleased with. The drawing itself, I think it's so cute, and the face and the expression and the body and the wings, I just really like it. Now I'm less happy with the colouring. I just feel like it ended up not quite choosing the right colours. First of all, I wish I'd flipped the black and the yellow on the body to be opposite, but then the face also, I felt the colours not quite right. But obviously if I want to do anything, I'm thinking I'll want to do more with some of these characters in the future, and I can always obviously adjust the colours. This is just the first time around. So yeah, I really like the bee itself, just not so much the colouring in this one. But still, then moving on to the pineapple now, like I mentioned, and again I'll be adding the yellow basic, but then adding green to it, just like the bananas, because that's how I prefer them. In fact, one of my favourite things ever is to chop up pineapple into little bits, bananas as well into slices, strawberries into bits, and then also some kiwi, and just make a fruit bowl like that. It's one of my favourite things ever. It's just so yummy and also very summery. And that is now giving me cravings for it. So lovely. I need to get hold of some before I can actually have it. Anywho, moving on to the ice cream cone here. This is also one of my favourites, and also kind of one of the first ones I came up with, along with the watermelon, I think it was, and a few others as well obviously. But I just really like how this came out with the scoops of the ice cream stacked on top of each other, and again interacting in the sense the middle one is kind of like just a bit crazy and just doing its own thing and doesn't really know what's going on. The top one doesn't have a care in the world. It's just kind of sleeping probably, if anything, and that's the one that's melting the most because it's the top one as well, so it's the smallest. But then the bottom one is a bit miffed with the one above it because it's melting into it and on top of it and into its eyes and getting kind of annoyed. And I just really like the expressions and the interactions there, and how I ended up managing to achieve that in the expressions of the eyes and the eyebrows. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I definitely learned a lot from doing this as well. Played around with all these different expressions. It's something I can use a lot in the future. Now I did also do this donut ring for beach, or whatever you want to call it, and at first I really struggled how to colour this in, and then I realised, wait a minute, there's 6 areas on it, which is perfect for a rainbow. So I thought, of course I'm going to colour that in rainbow colours, because why not? Like I said, I love rainbows. Unfortunately, there's just a tiny little bit showing of what ended up being the purple, but still, it's good enough for me. There are 6 areas, and then also here I used just the colours, the same colour, and going over it, where obviously this is kind of behind all the other things, so I added more of the same color where there would be shadow from the other things in front of it. And I think that worked out quite well as well, because I didn't really want to use a grey or something and kind of mute the color a bit. So I just kind of used the same color to darken it, because you can layer them and it kind of goes a bit darker and deeper in the color. And yeah, I think we're kind of getting to the end. I was unsure what to do with the background, whether to leave it white, but then I thought it just seemed a bit wrong, so I did want to add a background. So I ended up just choosing kind of a pretty pale blue, and I'm actually pretty pleased with that as well. I think almost symbolized a bit like the sky behind or the ocean behind. It could be anything really, and again, that fits well with the summer theme, I think. So I'm glad I did that instead of just leaving it white. That would have been a bit wrong, I think. Anyway, we are colouring in the background and we are getting towards the end. Now what's going to be left is the word summer. This one I struggled with a fair bit. I wasn't sure what colours to choose for this, because I wanted it obviously to kind of stand out, but because I'm using so many colours in all the characters all the way around, it was kind of, what colour can I choose to make it stand out, but also not make it stand out too much so it looks wrong, if you know what I mean. So even though I was thinking yellow and orange wouldn't be the best because there's like literally yellow and orange butting up against it and right close to it, I did end up thinking, you know what, I think it would work anyway. And if I kind of made it a bit dimensional in the letter, so as you can see I'm using a lighter colour and then a darker colour around the edges to kind of give it a bit of, I guess, shape and dimension. And I'm quite happy with the colours that I did choose, because again, summer, yellow and oranges just mean summer to me. So I think that worked out all right. So yeah, this is the complete picture. I hope you enjoyed it and you like it as much as me, especially if you like colour. I'm really pleased with it. So thank you so much for watching this video here. I hope it brings you a little bit of happiness and joy like it did me. Thank you so much for watching it, and I'll see you in the next one.